I'd like to call the Planning Commission meeting to order. All commission members are present, so we have established quorum. If there is anyone planning on speaking at today's meeting, I do ask ask you to allow me to administer an oath. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth to this commission? I have to say I do.
I do.
I do.
Thank you. If you do come up at any point during the meeting, there's only a few microphones in the room. We are in a different environment, as you can see, the sort of maroon room. So we ask that you come up to one of the seats. We'll be able to pick you up on a microphone. Which one?
The podium.
Oh, podium, I'm sorry. Okay. Right up here. And just state your name and the street you live on is sufficient. Okay. Disposition of last meeting's minutes. Does everyone have an opportunity to review those?
I would move we accept the minutes.
I will second that motion. Any discussion, questions? All those in favor of accepting the minutes?
Aye.
Any opposition? Okay. We'll move on to cases, which there are none, so we'll move on to communications. The first communication on our agenda is the sign task force recommendations. We went pretty in-depth review of it at the last meeting as amended in the title or section 230313 of title 23. This one was dealing exclusively with sort of covered the whole sign regulations, but I guess focusing exclusively on the addition of the rental property management signs and how it may affect the existing sign regulations. John Paskey was requested to make a few corrections, most of those grammatical or just a few other issues, E1 to EIs, that sort of thing. I see those have been made. Is there anything else you wanted to bring up, John? I don't think you didn't do anything above and beyond what
No,
was
I didn't do
called
anything
for.
above and beyond other than I thought I took out the 45 days and just did October 15th. Is that where we went with it last time?
Yeah, it seemed like if you could call it consensus, that there'd be some sort of drop dead date.
Right. Since we didn't know when the calendar
Right.
is and so on and so forth. And that would have been page 6. It'd be 5.4, I guess we call it, Roman numeral 4. And I believe that's the only area.
Okay.
Other than that, it was just the typo changes and small notes that we made about putting commercial, lease, et cetera. in
Right.
there.
And if I,
Go ahead.
okay, if I remember the 45 days versus October 15th, this would be a moving, 45 days, if my calculations are correct, would actually be earlier than October 15th.
Correct. By about a week, I think it was,
Okay.
based on
This year's
this
calendar.
year. Next year would be closer to the first week of October. So, I mean, if we want to change this to October 1, then, I guess that's what we discussed, but, because I think the school date is 26th,
27th, I think.
27th next year.
Next year, yeah. I guess that's a concern, we fixed it, so we'll have days that, technically, it's always gonna be over 45 almost, at this point.
Yes, a couple of days, a week plus, maybe a week over 45 days. But right now, we took the 45 days out altogether and just stayed October 15th. It is what it is, I suppose.
Well, it takes away the question of whether it's business or calendar, but I assume it would always be calendar anyway. Okay, just wondered.
I still have one question on the definition of the rental property management sign as was defined in the standards for R1 and R2.
So what page is that?
They are all numbered. Page 6.
Okay. Number 5.
Number 5 of item H, standards for R1 and R2 residential zones. Where we say the sign must come down, like you were just talking about, John, on October 15th, that would suggest that it's temporary in nature. It's going to be permanent up to, at the point that it's up, but then it comes down. So, but we're also saying, so does that mean the property management sign has to come down? Or is it
Yeah,
just
that-
the rental part on that property management sign?
The property management signs in the R1s.
In the
the
R1
whole thing
signs.
have to come in. That's why I
Okay.
left it in as a permanent sign, because everywhere else it is permanent in nature.
Right.
So, instead of putting it in there twice, which I guess we could do, or redo it, but it just states in there by putting that date in there, except in R1.
Okay. That's what I was looking for. Thank you. I do see one other, I hate to get nitpicky, one other place where we had an E1 show up instead of the EI is on page 10. E, I guess
Oh, yeah,
it'd be 6E, minor,
Oh,
but
I missed one.
again, I don't think this does anything to really impact. It's been enforceable. We're not changing anything that you're adding, so.
And then I did change the wording as we discussed on the window signs.
Oh, on
That
the,
too would be-
yeah, I remember that was the discussion.
6, so page 69.
Okay.
Exterior signs are not permissible if there is a window sign on the interior property.
Right.
So we changed that around the way it was requested.
Page 6 where?
It'd be
11.
11? Oh, I see.
Excellent.
5,
All right, if we're gonna do that, might we suggest on page 2, under classification of signs, where we say a sign means any display, figure, painting, drawing, placard, poster, or other exterior device. Could we say other exterior or interior device visible from a public way which is designed? Because, you know, you can have anything inside so long as it's not visible to the outside.
Okay.
Which section was it?
This
Page
is
2D.
Page D, classification of signs.
Yeah, makes sense.
What's the suggestion again?
Where we say on the classification of sign, the second line down, where it says other exterior device, that would say or other exterior or interior device. Because it felt like that would sort of exclude, if we say other exterior device, that would, we're not talking about anything interior visible from the public. But we're clearly defining it that if it's something inside the home,
The only thing I
That is
question on that
visible.
one is somebody has a Cleveland Browns curtains. Is that, you know, I don't want to get into that.
Is that a commercial? Are they trying to sell the Cleveland Browns?
yeah, I mean, I don't think it's.
You know, it could be a OU Bobcat fan or a sign or curtains, you know.
Are they selling Bobcat wear?
No, they're not selling it, but it's definitely,
I guess you could say it's
Endorsement.
directing attention towards an organization. But, I mean, people fly flags outside their home as well, and that would, you know, I mean, I think it doesn't matter if it's inside or outside, maybe it's still sort of a gray area. I know we specifically say a flag that's, the American flag is not within our jurisdiction.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think adding interior affects that at all. And it, you know, I think something like that is also a temporary thing in nature, which is sort of outside the advertising sign aspect. Let's see here. Maybe instead of political signs, we could change that to sympathetic signs.
That was struck out. Political sign section was struck out under.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Maybe any sympathy towards a underachieving Ohio football team is political in nature.
Hmm.
I don't think it changes it, adding interior, because if they have a flag flying outside, we still have that issue of what?
I don't know, I question it.
That's
I
a
think,
pattern, not a sign. I'm talking about curtain.
Yeah.
That's a decoration on a curtain.
well,
The intention's not to.
Well, I guess, yeah, if someone had on their
advertise yourself as
porch,
the merchandise for the Cleveland Browns,
Right.
the intent is just,
right,
you like the Browns.
Right, or you
have
see-
Cleveland Browns decorations in your house.
people have yard signs that say Buckeye Crossing or something like that, you know, play on like a goose or Animal Crossing. I don't see the city being interested in enforcing some sort
I got one on my mind that I saw
of.
for 2 months last year in the window right there, outside this office, that said muck. What is it?
Yeah,
Miami.
Michigan, right.
So does that then all of a sudden become, you know, that's where I'm going with this, that type of thing. But maybe that's where Pat chimes in on this.
Yeah, I don't think that's covered. I mean, I don't think that's what we're after. I mean, it may be a problem with the sign ordinance as a whole, but I don't think it's a rental sign issue going on.
By definition, these laws are broad brush. Laws are broad brush. We
Right.
can't cover every specific
Right.
incident at this point. Okay, so I'm trying to visualize what we're going to end up with here. If I'm looking at page 6, for rental property management signs, one combination rent property rental management sign per property may be placed on each building to provide these following requirements. The maximum size of the sign shall be 2 square feet. So if I do the square root of 2 square feet, it's 1.4
Yeah.
side.
Worked out to like 15 by 19, and I believe was the size of the signs that, the orange signs you find in Lowe's, et cetera,
Okay.
if I remember correctly.
Must be attached next to the front door, visible from the front of the house on the first floor. Must come down by October 15th of the academics, of an OU academic school year.
I guess
I don't
you
know
need
if
to
that's-
take that out.
Yeah.
Well,
In case they don't have school at all?
I
If they don't have
know,
school,
the reason
they'll
I'm
be
saying
locked.
that is because everyone will say of what year, and I want to say of this year, it says of this academic year.
Oh, okay.
That's the reason, or maybe we say of that year. We need to define, or we're gonna get right back to everyone saying, well, it doesn't say what year, October 15th.
Well, only October 15th. I mean, if OU doesn't have a class, we'll probably have lots of rental signs up and a lot of empty rentals, right? So therefore, I don't think it.
Yeah,
Okay, I'm indifferent one
current
way or the
year
other.
or something.
Sign may stay up or be placed after October 15th if unit, not bedroom, is not yet rented on the current academic year, following an academic, or the following academic year. It's not rented for the current year or the following.
Meaning if it's vacant at that time, then it has to say it can stay up in the R1 zones. So if it's vacant.
If it's vacant, then that's the current academic year.
Right.
Right.
Okay, if it's the
If it's-
following one, that means if I'm trying to rent 2 years from now,
If it's, right now, they've got them up for 2012 school year, after October 15th, if they haven't leased it
Right.
by that year, it has to then say available fall 2012.
but they can still leave it up, you're saying?
If they haven't leased it,
Yeah.
it stays up.
But if they have a lease signed for,
But they have to say when it's available. It has to say available fall of 2012.
So the signs aren't going to come down now? That's what you're telling me?
If the
well,
lease is
if it's a
signed,
bad
the lease
rental
is
market, they aren't.
The intent when we discussed it was if the sign is still up there and it says available fall of 2012, and if you've already signed a lease on it, I suspect that that person, the tenant's gonna be calling us saying they still gotta sign it, but we've signed a lease on it. So, and I planned on doing some sort of marketing campaign to state that we wanted the tenants to call us, that, because that was the, if it hasn't been leased out yet. For the
For
following-
June of 2012,
Right.
For fall of 2012.
fall of 2012.
Right. And it would have to say available fall of 2012.
This basically means the signs aren't going to come down, really. That's what you're telling me here. I'm trying to picture what I'm looking at here. Somebody's got it rented. Okay, so let's go back to the original dialogue that was existing. 2 weeks after the tenant moves in, the sign comes down. Perhaps we should be working with that side of things, saying how soon do you put it up? 30 days before the academic school year? 45 days before the academic school year? Again, I see this as, it's not gonna change anything, and it's only R1s we're talking about, so we're gonna see still
Right.
signs there.
Again, this is coming from the
Yeah, I mean,
sign
Yes.
working group.
And again, I'm just trying to get a picture of what we're looking at once we get to the neighborhood.
Right.
Once I walk down that street, what am I looking at? Signs still up. They're just gonna have a little thing saying renting for 2012.
A number of them have that now, or saying, as I drive around. they're
Right.
saying for-
I mean, the
And
idea
that's the
would be
complaints I get.
that if the house gets leased between now and October 15th for fall 2012, that sign will have to come down. If it does not get leased for fall 2012 till sometime in January, they can have their sign up from, now until January.
but it has to stay
Right.
when it is available.
But,
And if somebody signed a lease on it and they left it up and no one notified us, absolutely right, we're gonna have no way of ever knowing.
right.
Okay, where does it say it has to come down in January?
It-
There's nothing in
No,
there.
he was just.
Well,
saying.
that's where it comes to this item 7. Sign must be removed 2 weeks after a lease is signed. So if that lease is signed January 1st, by the second week of January, that sign has to come down.
If right now a sign is, if a place is leased right now for next June,
Mhm.
or I mean, anytime next year, they're not now putting it back up until next fall when they can advertise for the fall of 2013.
Okay, so it still looks like we're gonna have lots of signs at this point. No yard signs, so all the yard signs
Yard
disappear.
signs will be gone.
Yeah.
They'll all be attached next to the front door, visible from the front of the house on the first floor.
But I think what will happen though, after this is in place, and say this gets, city council just loves this thing, and they're gonna, give its readings back to back to back and get this thing voted in. Say it were to come into use this year and be ready by, December 1st or something. What happens?
I see.
Does
us
it go
pretty
back
much-
does it not kick in till October 15th, or is it
I see us pretty much doing educational stuff through the rest of this academic
Okay,
year,
so then-
and then really kicking in at the end of the school year, now that we're into this point.
but you'll finally, I think, get a sense of what the rental market is like afterwards, because we'll start to see in the R1 and R2 at least how long signs are staying up.
R2 can stay up all the time according to this. R2s aren't gonna change.
So you really just have one test spot, which is the R1.
Mhm.
It's what the people want.
Doesn't mean we have
From
to
an
do it.
enforcement standpoint, one thing that occurs to me is that if it's after October 15th, from the meetings itself, from the task force, my impression at least was that there was good faith on both sides, from the landlords as well as from property owner, or from the folks in the neighborhoods. I did get a sense of good faith, but after October 15th, if it says for rent, June or September of 2012 or 2013, whatever it may say, as long as there's a phone number or a contact, we could have interns, volunteers, making phone calls and inquiries on specific properties. Is this property for lease? I'd like to talk to you about signing it. If you hear a no from the property manager or the landlord, then we know they're in violation. So there would be ways I think we could address that.
Okay, so
And
there are no
they-
yard signs.
Correct.
These things are gonna be attached to the front of the house, by the door, on the front
Yeah.
porch.
Right. Attached to the front door, visible from in front of the house on the first floor, but no yard sign.
No brochure boxes.
Right.
Any coloring, lettering, or numbering pictures are acceptable. Signs may not be neon, metallic, reflective, illuminated, moving, or flashing. That's an old news, really. Exterior signs are not permissible if there's a window sign on the interior property. Interior signs must meet the same requirements as exterior. One sign per street front, which means you can have 2 on a corner.
But you really can't, because we already made it clear you can only have one combination rental sign per property. So that probably doesn't even need to be there.
Okay. No other form of rental property management sign is permissible. If property is for sale or for rent, rental sign must comply with the rental sign regulations. Okay.
Which this is the rental sign.
The corner meant it could be on each side of the house.
They have two front
Because
doors.
there's other areas that go to allow signs on
It says
both streets.
one combination rental property management sign per property may be placed on each building.
So maybe we should just say maybe placed on each street front.
Unless there's two front doors. Is that always possible?
No, it's each
Unit,
building. One,
yeah.
yeah, it's on.
It's per unit.
That's how. To me, it's fairly cut and dry here.
That part says that, yes. We can go either way.
No, I'm thinking we don't want it to
No,
go
we don't
either
want-
way.
No, I think
I
we
want
want
to
one
stick with
per-
the
Yeah.
one per property on each building.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's got to be per. Yeah. You can't have more than one front door.
So you're talking about deleting-
You can have a side door. You can have a back door. You can't have two front doors.
So we'll strike XII.
Yeah.
Sounds like
The
12's
planning
out.
commission was saying.
Yeah. Strike.
So number 12.
Page 6.
Okay.
Now I think property management maybe the same way. Yeah. We'll have the same issue with the property management signs under the other zone.
Page 8,
Yeah.
K8.
K8 item 8.
Oh.
Now, one thing I want to be certain of is right now under 12,
Page 12.
page 12, item M, sign application and permit. It only says, a sign permit shall be required for all signs other than real estate and political signs. Now, rental sign we're now saying is no longer a real estate sign.
So we need to add, you're saying.
Are we
property man-
adding property manager, or are we now saying property management rental signs require a permit?
I think we talked before that would not be a permissible process.
Okay, so we do want to add other than real estate, rental, and or slash, whatever you want to write that,
Property
property
management.
management signs and political signs. Okay, any other items? No one? All right, I would like to put a motion forward to,
More signatures, is that what you're asking?
No, I didn't know if you wanted to provide an opportunity for anybody who wanted to speak to this issue.
oh, I'm sorry, I didn't see
Okay.
you gesturing over there. Yes, is there anyone here who would like to speak? I'm sorry for people behind me.
Like she's up there.
You have to stand at the podium today if you didn't hear earlier. Thank you.
I'm Joanne Prisley. I live at 40 Grosvenor Street, which is an R1.
Okay.
And I've been on the, well, I was on the planning commission. I was on the rewriting the city plan. I was on the task force for all this parking, for signs, for anything else you can imagine. But the last group was signs. My concern is that I don't think it really is going to, I think something has to be done about that October 15th and then taking the sign down. Because when we were sitting in that for a while, and then I don't know who else was in there talking when there were representatives of the neighborhood association and of the landlords, we talked about the signs coming down after the 15th. And then some of them wanted to say, well, if it wasn't rented, you could keep it up. But some of us said, no, not until the third quarter do you do that. When by winter quarter, people are pretty much not renting, even for the next year. They've already done it. When it was the first day they got here, they did it. And so the discussion was that they could do it, say, start third quarter, and you could have, at the time it was 45 days, and they could put the sign up, and which would keep it, they would take them down in early October, and we wouldn't have to look at them. Now, if any of you on the committee would go up Grosvenor Street, you'll see what the one group did with their big signs that are on the street across it from it, 43 and 45. And this is really very annoying in a neighborhood, and we've been trying to get people to move back into the neighborhood and rent and sell houses, and you just can't do it with all those signs. Now, my other point of that is that I think the size is too large that you're permitting in there.
2 square
Did
foot.
you,
I
let me
think
ask
it's
a
big.
question. Did you know why the task force voted not to have the signs do the third quarter thing, or voted not to do a dimension other than the 2 square feet?
Well,
because it seemed like pretty clear consensus.
You know,
that we
well,
want
it
these
wasn't a
groups.
real task force, you know. This is not, as I call, an official task force. This was a group who got together, neighborhood associations and the landlords. And it was never all, everybody said they wanted to have a consensus, but not everybody agreed with everything wholeheartedly. And as time went on, I felt that one person took over the whole argument constantly, and all he did, we never got anything done because all he did was complain about everything. And I decided that I was not going to argue anymore there. I was going to wait for a planning commission and the city council too. And there was not complete, all the landlords thought it was fine, but I don't think all the people on the neighborhood associations thought it was fine. So I said right out to them at the meeting that anybody who knows me knows that I have been in meetings where I said I would do away with all signage. Like they have, what is it, Worthington or Dublin or something, they have these little things for businesses. I would do away with all of them. And of course, that's not popular with many people. But I'm against all that sort of thing. And I try to agree with them on some and work with them on some and suggest some things. And there are some people who are very good about it and they did everything. But it was not the impression that everybody was ecstatic about the whole thing is not correct. But I just think they should be smaller, and I think that leaving them up that's too long to leave them up. And go up and look at my neighborhood.
Out of curiosity, is there anyone else from the the last signed task force committee that is in attendance that would want to say any comments?
I don't think there's
Okay.
Talk about signs.
No,
Okay.
I would like to
She's-
find everything about it.
There's
and share
one.
with
I think it's under the podium. Thank you.
you. Yeah.
Hi, I'm Jean Sofranic, and I live at 34 Grosvenor Street. And I just want to agree with what she has said, and the resident neighbors there feel. There is no objection at all to having a hooray. We were pushed, and we were told that people could only buy 2-foot square signs here, and that's why we had to put a 2-foot square sign up. You do not have to have that only one choice. When we have 1-foot square signs here, the stores will get the 1-foot square signs because they want to sell the signs that can be used. They don't want people going out of town. And it really does have a remarkable effect. We moved here 20 years ago, and it's just really sad to see these signs up. The signs should not be up for the next year. We shouldn't have them extending to indefinitely, which is really what you've said is going to happen. And having tacky for rent signs or publicity signs even up on the house is not in good taste. We certainly were limited by our business, and I think that landlords should be just as respectable.
Thank you. Anyone else like to speak? Planning commission members?
I
RJ, you're
just,
permitted to speak about signs generally.
Oh, I am? Okay. Well, in the sign task force that I was on, I thought we had agreed to a 12 by 16, or I'm sorry, 12 by 18, which is smaller than the 2 square foot. That's the one that we had talked about, and
Yeah.
that the landlords who were there didn't have a problem with, and I know that some of the current signs that are up that we're talking about as far as or property management signs are pretty much the 12 by 18 size already. So somebody's been able to get signs from someplace that correspond more to the 12 by 18.
The reason the 15 by 19 came up was for the one property owner, landlord, that has one house that just wants to run down the road to put a sign up. And that's where the 15 by 19, because that's the one they checked out the size of that, brought one in. And then that was kind of in line with a nameplate sign on a house is allowed to be 2 square foot, which this hits the 2 square foot, so that's where the 2 square foot comes from.
But I tend to agree that, you know, that stores here in town will furnish what the need is. They'll follow what the need is in town.
The code is in town.
Right.
I guess I would like to say, particularly in response to the 2 speakers today, that the reality is, as I've heard and we've heard from the property owners, that this leasing cycle changed in the last 20 years. You know, they indeed are renting a year in advance. So I think that that's kind of shifted where that focus is. I also kind of believe this uniformity may result in better visual impacts. The eradication of the yard signs in all different size, shapes, and what have you. And, you know, times are tough. We're seeing a number of signs up that are still up now that might not have been up in the past few years because students are beginning to kind of delay that decision and look at the economics.
And I think Mayor Weil brings up a good point, because when we get into August or September of the immediate academic year, landlords are not renting for now. They are running for 2012, 2013, or advanced years. So, yeah, you would have that. You still have that problem.
The signs will stay up.
Right.
That's what you're telling me.
Right. So, you know, I think when you're talking about, well, maybe you move the timeline to when the signs can be up more towards, the third quarter that they're talking about, or when we change to semesters, maybe to the second semester, something of that nature.
Yeah, maybe we could create like sort of rental fest. You know, think in May. All the sign, I mean, there's sort of anything goes. You can have banners, you can do anything. You got like a week that you can get
That's
your
very
place,
moving, isn't it?
yeah, you get your place rented, and then all order goes back. Kidding aside. I mean, you know, again, it's not perfect. We still have a lot of things to work out. I mean, the idea is that we're looking at recommendations from 2 sign committees, you know, quasi-task force, coalescing the 2 inputs and trying to put this into code. And that's what this is. I mean, we're sort of looking at it almost like a review board in a sense of, you know, this works, but this doesn't, this sort of thing. So, you know, to get something out there, this is probably a start. It's not the end. We're looking at something we've never really, you know, we had something in code before under real estate signs, but it was never quite an enforceable thing. It didn't define any size, where you can have a sign, what was on the sign, colors, moving, or you know, that sort of thing. So I think we're going in the right direction if we were to approve this or make this recommendation to City Council.
I'm just looking at the bullet points from the meetings, and I mean, we did discuss, and one of the things we voted on, said may remain up or be placed after October 15th, if not yet rented for the current academic year or following academic year. I mean, and that was discussed many a time, and it was,
Right.
and again, I was mediator there, and it was approved unanimously, so.
Yeah, I mean, well, it's a tough thing. You get into a committee, someone usually does take, you know, I mean, just to get anything done, someone has to take a leadership role, and sometimes people at the time can get, you know, pushed along into one direction that, you know, probably right then and there you felt pretty good about, but, you know, it's been 6 months, I think, since that committee really got together, correct? So, not exactly. So, a lot can change when nothing's actually changing. So, I can definitely understand that concern. I mean, we can try 2 square feet. I mean, we could go with the 12 by 18, and you know, with the variance above that, up to 2 feet. I mean, it would put a burden on you to permit, or I don't know who the variance board would be if it, I mean, it sounds like it'd be BZA to go above,
It
but
was-
we could say maybe,
What that's doing is, from some of the smaller landlords, they felt it was punishing them. The larger landlords are the ones getting the 12 by 18s, having
Right.
them made in the metal, the nicer ones. It's the smaller guy that just wants to go down.
Right.
And I'm not saying that the stores can't come up with size, but if you get online, that's what we did at that task force
Right.
meeting. We got online and we looked at the size of these orange signs through any Lowe's, Home Depot, whatever it may be, and they're just, it's an industry standard sign. So for them to just order a 12 by 18 that they have in there from what we saw,
right.
they're not made in that size. They were in the 15 by 19.
Right.
That's where that came up. Or the next size down was smaller than the 12 by 18. So I can't. There are 2 sizes, and there is a smaller size, but the other one was much smaller. So
Okay.
that's how that came about.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, it's making it comparable to the nameplate sign.
I don't see why we couldn't go down, ratchet it down a little bit. Again, because I'm aware of the fact that when we changed the smoke alarm legislation, all of a sudden all the stores had, you know, smoke alarms approved by code as the advertising sign. I know at C&E they had it, they said, we're selling just like the code says.
All right.
From my point of view, the ability for the market to adapt is pretty easy.
Well, did the local sign companies in town, for instance, if these smaller people that you're talking about, can they go to them and have a custom sign made to conform to if they went to a 12 by 18?
I'm sure.
I don't want to advertise any companies, but, you know, I'm thinking of one in particular that, you know, if they went there instead of a Lowe's or what have you, then they could have that custom sign that, you know, they could have on, you know, for permanent use.
At what time a member of a local sign company was attending those meetings? So, and what size was the sign?
He's the one that makes the signs for the larger landlords on the 12 by 18s. The little plastic ones, I don't know.
And if it's a sign that someone's going to keep year after year, then I don't know that even the cost is necessarily a hardship for.
Typically, I don't believe most people keep those signs. They
But-
usually rip apart in the wind in a matter of weeks.
But I do agree, though, that because someone might complain that you might need to change, if you went with the 12 by 18, that you would need to change maybe the nameplate.
Yeah, but, I mean, we're defining this as a permanent sign, and we have design standards, say structural design, location, materials, construction, erection, maintenance of all signs shall be in compliance with the Ohio Basic Building Code. So these aren't the throwaway signs at Lowe's anymore.
That's in the R3s that you're reading there, or complied with the code.
Yeah, but we're defining this under permanent signs, under the standards.
In the R2s and above, right? Or the row, however you say it.
On page 4.
Yeah, page 4 defines the design standards for signs, general.
I mean, I don't foresee a lot of those signs that are out there existing having those changed to an enlarged. I mean, it's kind of an up to.
Right.
But they all should be coming down quite soon, shouldn't they? So there'll be an
But this
opportunity
isn't
for movements
enacted
out.
yet.
When, as soon as this is enacted, it will.
Okay, and the intent of this, of course, the sign regulation is to promote and maintain high-quality residential zones throughout the city, and promote attractive public facilities and permitting on nameplate signs, bulletin boards, identification signs. Related development such zones provide reasonably appropriate conditions for identifying establishments, business and manufacturing zones, to eliminate conflict between advertising and traffic controls. This probably doesn't go anything with rentals. To promote desirable developments, economic activity consistent with the objectives of planning and development program of the city, to relieve the city of unattractive, garish, unproductive signs, and generally improve the appearance of the city. To prevent sign blight, which adversely impacts aesthetics by telling the value of the city's commercial area. To control design of the sign so the appearance will be aesthetically harmonious with their surroundings. To promote public health and safety, aesthetics of the community, and to remove public nuisances. That's the intent.
Right.
Are we getting to the intent at this point?
I believe it's movement towards that, yes.
We should say, though, under item 2, to provide reasonable yet appropriate conditions for identifying establishments in business, residential. Really should say in all our zones.
Well, I think usually the sign, the number on the street tells you that for identification.
Well, it's,
3 Mary Street works just as well. I don't know if it's populated by Paul Wild, 3 Mary Street.
all right, well, one other item. We would want to change the, it does sound like when I said earlier about the, say city council approves this in December, we do have an item in here under letter P on page 13, non-conforming signs. So all existing non-conforming signs, including signs granted variances prior to October 18th, 1989, are hereby declared to be a public nuisance. Any sign created after October 18th, 1989, which would fall into most of these signs, which is non-conforming shall be removed unless granted a revocable license by City Council or a variance by the Board of Zoning Appeals. So once this new rental property management sign sections of the code go into effect, they would be considered non-conforming at that point, not.
What would you consider not?
If you had a rental sign up for something that was already leased for the next year.
I think that would actually be a violation. The thrust of this non-conforming is the signs that.
Is the appearance or?
Permanent signs that have changed. And again, you've just taken it out temporary to permanent, I guess, which is the problem, right?
Yeah. I can't figure out what that sign wants to be. It's neither permanent nor temporary in nature.
What, a rental sign?
Yeah.
I always look at it as more temporary. Again, the argument saying, I will, my house will someday be for sale.
Right.
So
Well,
therefore, I can put up a for sale sign right now,
right.
with the idea, when I pass away in 2 to
Right.
10 years, it'll be for sale.
Right.
I'm just anticipating for the next owner, or whoever wants to buy it.
Right.
So that becomes a permanent sign at that point.
All right. How this issue started, this recent quagmire we're in, was the size of the sign. Whether 2 feet should become the new standard, or if we accept the current standard of 12 by 18.
12 by.
And it came about, well, most of those 12 by 18 signs are pretty permanent right now, but the 2-foot ones are more of the disposal nature. So, I don't know. What is it then? Task force, I mean, I don't know. I don't
I
think the
mean-
temporary permanent nature was discussed. in
You're
there.
talking about 12 by 18 versus 15 by 19?
Yeah,
So,
neither here nor there, is it?
doesn't,
3 inches on one side and an inch on another.
yeah.
It is a maximum. It is not a minimum size. I would think no. Most people who have signs already made are not going to go out and make a 2-foot sign for the extra 1 inches. And the person that can't afford to have their own sign made only probably has a couple properties that usually the smaller rental landlords have those places rented pretty quickly. It's not a...
Am I missing something? I thought it was how long you can keep the sign up and when they come down. At a few inches, the size didn't seem to matter so much to me. I thought it was the looks of the thing, having them up all the time. Am I wrong?
It's both.
What?
It's both, the duration and the size.
It's what they look like when they're up, and then when do they come down? I guess
How
is the
long
attitude.
are they up? I was
You'll have, if you keep speaking, you'll probably have to get in front of the podium. I mean, Ryan over here is scrambling just to be able to catch on camera.
I don't want to be on.
Goes with the territory here.
Made a mistake. October 15th, I mean, so that we're clear, a sign can come up for a rental in the current year or the next school year. So once that rental is signed for that current year or that next school year, and it's after October 15th, it must come down. Once that sign is leased, say it gets leased for the next school year on September 1st, that sign has to come down by September 15th. This is only R1, I'm sorry,
Yeah.
so that we're also more specific. R2, that sign can stay up perpetually. R3, the sign can stay up perpetually. All the Bs, the sign can stay up perpetually. Manufacturing perpetually. Education sign perpetually. So we are really only talking about the R1 zone. And that's that.
Do I have to go through?
Yeah, you do. Unless it's brief, maybe. Maybe we
it's
can
pretty
make it.
brief.
All right.
And maybe I haven't seen it here, but I'm just trying to figure out the nature of these signs. They have to be mounted to the building, always, even in the R1, right?
Correct.
So there's no longer a yard sign. So I just want to make sure that everybody in town, especially management companies, have an opportunity, because we're going to have to redesign our signs, potentially to have holders, so that something can slip in and then be pulled back out.
Right.
And nobody has that, to my knowledge. And we got masonry, and we can't continue to drill into brick faces on brick buildings. We have wood, we have aluminum siding, we've got vinyl siding, and if we're constantly taking signs on and off, it'll destroy the house. And that's also true for owners, who are used to just going down to Lowe's and throwing a sign in their front yard for rent. My house is for rent, So now they're going to have to make sure that they have a mechanism for attaching it. So, and again, if it's something that they're doing over time, repeatedly, it's not just the sign. I guess my point, we need to be anticipating that they're going to have some sort of holder or a mechanism by which you can take a sign on and off, throughout many years.
Russell, that is true, and that was discussed during these meetings, and a couple of the landlords already have little toggles that they can turn and the sign will come on.
I think the management companies can figure it out, but I'm thinking more about homeowners who just are used to throwing a sign in the yard. I mean, now they're going to have, you got some old guy up on a ladder, trying to attach a sign to the front
But
yard.
those are the ones with the orange signs where they staple
That's
them to the
right.
house.
They'll staple them to the
And we see it
house.
now.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, again, it does point to the fact that these are becoming permanent in nature, even in the R1.
It was about no rental information.
They're gonna
So
take it
was,
down, I get
this
that,
is
but
rent- This is managed by, and then.
it's a permanent
it's like phone numbers,
installation,
students
yeah.
would call.
Anything's
Then you
temporary,
would
right?
take signs down.
But,
Sign law is included.
exactly. Anything can be granted a variance. So there's no reason a homeowner can't come in and say,
Well, the odd thing is it's not permitted. I'm just curious, John, your take on the variance aspect. Not that I want to drag this out anymore.
We're only talking about the orange signs, basically, the Lowe's signs. And what I'm fearful of, what'll happen is we're gonna get a first-time homeowner that maybe is on sabbatical that puts an orange sign out in front of their house that has no clue about the regulations, and they may even be gone, and then we nail them, and then they tell them they're gonna get a variance, and they're not even here. So, that's why.
I was speaking more to the variance, so that is, even though it's not a permitted activity, you could still seek a variance.
right, so you could
That's
say,
good.
you could get a variance, say, listen, I can't get something on my front door, historical value, blah, 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 can I get a yard sign?
Well, absolutely.
Okay, that was my question,
Only
so
if
that's
the findings,
answered.
They go through
Okay,
the findings.
correct.
Right.
Say this is
Okay.
a special case.
Right,
Topography, size of the building.
right.
I take that
No
back, the
special-
variance is only granted on denied permits, and this is not a permittable process, this is a violation.
That's why I was asking.
Okay, that's,
Okay.
So,
Okay.
I strike that, you cannot get a variance for anything.
No pressure, but I do have to leave in 3 minutes. I apologize.
Well, I mean, right now, I'm not hearing a lot of changes being requested by commission members, more just sort of concerns.
Well, if you want, I'll move it to 1 square foot rental signs. I'll make a motion for that.
So you would accept this as is if they were on the condition that they're 1 foot rental / property management sign, and also just for the R1, R2 standard? Because the property management sign for the rest of the zones is 2 foot, 2 square
Yes.
feet as well. So both,
R1, R2.
just R1, R2. Any commission members second that? They're permitted to vote in the proceedings?
Guess not.
I'll second it.
And the discussion basically is all Section A of the intent. And again, I'm not really enamored with the signs for staying up forever on an RT, but that's another motion entirely. I just look and say, we've got way too many signs up right now. And I know the character will change since we're taking them out of the yards.
Mm-hmm.
And I know the market will change to fit the problem or the decisions.
Right. And again, it's only in the R1 that the sign needs removed. R2, it can remain up as a property management sign.
It's the 1 square foot everywhere, just the R1s.
Just R1s and, or he was saying R1 and R2.
I thought R1 and R2 both apply to the
Yeah.
size.
Yeah.
The only difference between R1 and R2 is that the
It's
R2s can
duration.
stay up forever.
I just would like to say I view that as a significant change from what the recommendations came from the committee. I mean, this is actually slashing in half. I did hear from some members here today, 12 by 18 would be acceptable.
How much, what square footage is 12 by 18?
1.5 square feet.
1.5.
Be meeting in the middle, I guess.
I guess so. Okay, I'll amend it to 1.5.
Is the motion then to recommend the sign regulation
Recommend
revisions
the
as a whole?
revisions as a whole with the condition that the changes, the striking the 1 sign per street front, as well as in section H for standards for R1 and R2 residential zones. Number 5, Roman numeral I, amending that to maximum size of sign shall be 1.5 square feet. And also striking the one sign per street front from property management signs under the standards for their other zones except for R1 and R2.
And in the exterior or interior on the classifications. You don't want that.
Yeah, thank you.
So has this motion been seconded yet? With
Yeah,
the
well, I will
modification?
second it now with modification, the 1.5
Okay.
feet. So we still can have further discussion. We can also bring it to a vote.
I believe, just one other thing to add, I'm sorry, page 2, under D.
Yeah, that's,
Yeah,
yeah,
okay,
the
I'm
interior,
sorry.
yeah. So in order, D, we'll add interior to that section. Item 6, or I'm sorry, on page 6, H5, Roman numeral 1, maximum sign shall be 1.5 square feet. We'll strike Roman numeral 7.
12, sorry. Oh.
Yeah, you're right, 12, and adjust accordingly. We will also strike from from letter, yes,
That is 8.
yeah.
Page
Yeah.
8, K8, is that it, one sign per?
Yeah, one sign per street front. And then we'll just correct the edge, that little typo thing, the E1, EI. I'm sure we'll find another one of those too. Oh, thank you. And one final one is on page 12, the sign and application permit, we will exclude rental and property management signs from receiving a sign permit.
What did you want to do with P, section T on page 13, the non-conforming sign?
We talked about, this is a violation issue and not that the storm,
And that's
the
for
sign is
revocable-
conforming to code, it just is a violation of the,
That's a revocable license
Yeah.
section, we need to leave that alone.
Okay.
okay. I second that motion, so any further discussion? Marge, anything that's not a rental sign?
No.
Okay.
This would be a vote on this and a recommendation going to council?
Yes. We will basically be passing the buck to city council to decide what to do with this.
I don't know if we're passing the buck. We're doing something.
All right, we're gonna make the recommendation. City council can decide whether to bring this up in committee, just go with it, do public hearings, and I think 3 readings are required before they can pass it into law.
Probably 30 days after that.
Okay. You are an experienced councilman. I forget. All right, all those in favor of accepting the changes to sign regulations as discussed in the minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? And one person
One abstention.
Excuse me, I'm sorry.
All
You
right.
have to go.
This will be something that will be, once it does go to city council, it will be a work in progress. And something that we'll continue to revise and work on as, I guess we tackle an issue that people have brought up time and time again that has never been dealt with fully in code. So this is sort of the first real stab at it, and it, some people may like it, others I think will detest the change. So this is something that we'll continue to require citizens' feedback on throughout. So, and it may never even come up in city council. So if it's something that you do want to see acted upon, it's important to talk to your ward council members. So, all right, we do have a few other communications. We have a rezoning request. We also have a communications tower ordinance that Paul Logue has been working on. We'll start with the rezoning request. This is at the northeast part of East State Street. This area was recently discussed in Planning Commission where it concerned the house on Graham Street by Integrated Services. At that time of that meeting, a resident of that neighborhood said they were going to be asking for a zoning request in the area, and this is that proposal. It looks like Paul Loga's done us the favor of revising the GIS to give us a proposal what that zone would look like if it were rezoned based on the request. Currently, the area in discussion they're looking at is to the south of Stony Brook Road, and would include the south.
Actually, that's Jacobs.
Is it Jacobs?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm looking.
Stony Brook is that end where it turns to Charlestown Station.
So south of Jacobs, it would include the south portion of Jacobs, and this would lead us all the way up to the B3. I'm sorry, it actually would get into that. So sort of the area you could look at is from Jacobs to Townsend, including the east side of Townsend, east block of Townsend, and the west block of Utah, and all the way to the north side of East State Street. So that sort of rectangular area is what we're looking at. Currently, it is zoned a mixture of B3 as well as is that R2?
R2.
Yeah. So what they're proposing, the group is proposing doing, is extending the R1 through the majority of that area, and then there'd be a slight R2 zone, and then the rest would maintain the B3.
There's actually, on the third map that I created, based on what was submitted, there's actually 3 changes being made, and I identified those on that map.
Okay.
Portions are being asked to be changed from R2 to R1. Other portions are being asked to be downzoned from B3 to R2. And there's a small portion that's being asked to be upzoned from R2 to B3. That was based on what was provided to us. I discussed this with the Service Safety Director, and I discussed the request with our law director this morning. One issue that came up is based on 2309 zone changes. I also provided that ordinance to you.
I see that. Okay.
The applicants live in an R2, and so their only request could be to down zone or change the zoning within their specific zone. So any changes recommended or requested for a B3, because they don't own or lease property in the B3, they don't have standing to make that request. There's nothing that the planning commission can't review that, though, if they wanted to consider the change.
Yeah, this is 23093, adoption, amendments to zoning code may be initiated one of the following ways. Adoption by motion of the commission, resolution of council, and then final application if commissioned by at least one property owner or leasee of the property within the area proposed to be changed or affected by said amendment. Okay.
Yes, they would argue the or affected by said amendment. So the applicants all live in the R2?
Correct.
Right. And they don't have anyone?
There's 4 applicants on the front page. And I believe.
Well, it doesn't, it says within the area, and I don't think that defines it as zone.
I'm just communicating with the law director.
Oh, law director, I'm sorry. I thought you said service safety, I apologize.
She and I met with him and discussed it.
Okay. So I could live in an R1 on the south side of town and propose a change in an R1 over on the
Your
east side?
R1. I don't believe so.
It has to be contiguous to my
I'm
zone.
not
Okay.
sure.
I'm-
For the
yeah,
record
I'm
on
not-
that. That's a legal question, not a planner's question.
I'm gonna change your zone to B3. I live in R1, you live in R2?
Right.
Simpatico.
Exactly.
Right?
So
How do you feel about that?
that would be my,
Sorry.
I was asking a dumb question to try to figure out what the.
I know.
So I would assume, yes, it would have to be a contiguous area to their zone. So that would mean they could only, based on current, they couldn't get anywhere south of Jacobs.
No,
Request any
they
changes.
live south of
They
Jacobs.
live south of Jacob.
Yes. They live in the R2 zone.
Oh, they do, okay, so they're,
Yes.
so they're permitted to make any change in R2, but not in the B. They have no I mean, it looks like there's still a couple of residences in the B3. It seems like, so long as they got an applicant on board in one of those places on Charles or Graham,
Yeah.
you would be able to
Correct,
make
correct.
these requests.
Now, from the planning commission standpoint, the planning commission can look at any of it.
Right.
And make a recommendation despite that issue.
Right. You know, personally, I don't even like the R2 going all the way up to East Straight Street like it currently does and is still continued to be proposed. Or I'm sorry, R1. Right now it's R2.
You're talking about the Strathmore?
Yeah, exactly, right at that edge. I always think that's an awkward position to live.
And the change would make rolling supply, I don't think it's rolling supply anymore, is it?
That's old, that's old, those layers haven't been updated in some time as far as the structures.
Hardee's, yeah, Hardee's done very good. Bart, yeah, I think it's gone. Salvation Army, I think that's gone too.
Yeah.
Excuse me, could I speak?
Yes, if you could go to the podium, please. Thank you. Take your name and,
Yeah, I'm Jeff Dill. I live at 31 Grand Drive, and our group initiated this proposal. And where exactly the line draws is certainly flexible and up to what you think makes sense. In submitting this proposal, we had two goals. The first goal was to conform with the spirit and the intent of the comprehensive plan, which says that this neighborhood should be, preserved as single-family owner-occupied residences. And the second goal was to sort of put into law things that are already true anyway. The section below Jacobs, between Jacobs and State Street, currently has 113 residential structures. Of those 113 structures, only 9 are duplexes, and all the rest are already single-family homes anyway. And so our intent was just, and furthermore, the ones that are duplexes are all close to State Street at the south end of the section. So our intent was to move the line in accordance with what's already there anyway, and all the existing single-family homes be zoned R1, and the existing duplexes remain R2. And that further creates sort of an R2 buffer between the business zone and the R1 zone. So it seems to make sense in a lot of ways. And where exactly you wanted to draw the line to what makes sense for you is certainly up for, that's open to revision, depending on the particular property owners involved and what they would prefer. So that sort of summarizes what we were intending. We didn't, this was intended sort of as a first cut, not some non-negotiable hard demand or anything like that.
how many did you say single-family residences were there in the area south of Jacobs, north of East State Street?
If you look on Exhibit A in that packet,
You probably
I'm
didn't.
sorry.
Second.
I probably have it. I just haven't turned to it.
This one right there.
Thank you. Yeah, I did not get this there. I'm sorry.
There's only one copy submitted a month ago.
Okay.
And it also includes parts of the comprehensive plan in the back as well.
Good.
Talk about the northeast State Street area.
I'm also aware that there's been at least one property owner, I believe on Charles, who has communicated with a few council members. I'm not sure if he's in this.
Yes.
Okay. Requesting the same thing, who's not
Yes.
one of the applicants here, so.
Now, this doesn't affect, as it is though, the integrated services project.
No, yeah, that's a separate issue. It's currently zoned business, and it's in the
Right.
judge's hands at this point.
And again, there's been 2 examples in the past about downzoning. If Joan Prisley was still here, she'd tell you about it. First one was actually on the west side of town. I was, let's see, I think at that time the Ward 1 was Linda Hiller. And I think it was a petition of the majority of the people to downzone it from R2 to R1, extending from, I think, went from Central to almost to the cemetery, but not to Walker, I believe, and over to State, but I don't think it went past State. I forget the actual area. The other one is the Morris Avenue area was downzoned about the same time. This is at least 10, 12, 15 years ago, I believe. So there are duplexes in many of these zones still, but they're grandfathered in. And there have been occasions in the past where the grandfather status has been lost because either reconstruction, the 50% rule, or loss of the house or change of a rental. So it ceased to be a duplex.
I would further add that we aren't proposing any change of use, and we're further trying to minimize creating any non-conforming uses that would have to be grandfathered in. And my understanding was that when the Near East side was rezoned, they created dozens of non-conforming uses. Again, this is only a first cut, but we tried to minimize those occurrences.
Yes, can I say something?
Sure.
Lowell Berzuel at 10 Charles Street, and I have communicated with council members. I would like to note really the urgency and the need for this change. Within the last year, developers have expressed strong interest in and bids on 3 properties on the first block of Charles and Graham. I'm glad to say I was informed just yesterday that a deal just across the street from me has fallen through. I think that these duplexes, the existing duplexes, are tolerable, but they degrade the single-family neighborhood. For example, on Charles, we have big barn-like structures whose roofs tower over all the other buildings. Adjacent homes have parking lots in the backyard. If you're in your backyard, you look at a stairway going up to the top duplex. The greater density of population creates parking problems. There's parking provided in the back, but many individuals still find it more convenient to park on the street. And there's sort of a domino effect created. The existence of a duplex degrades the adjacent property, decreasing its value. Not tremendously, but 10 to 20,000, say. And then that property is more vulnerable, and it too is subject to further development. So I think there is an urgency for this change because the developers are interested in further duplex development, and I think it will destroy the entire character of the neighborhood. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
I'd like to ask what he's saying, I can't deny, but I have yet to have anyone come in inquiring about that in our office.
Inquiring about what?
Putting duplexes in.
Well, this is from the horse's mouth. The developer himself told me.
Well,
He's already built 2.
See, this is the first time most of us are reviewing the proposal, so I don't think we have to get too in-depth right now. I mean, I think it'd be difficult to really understand all the factors in effect in this area. Most of us, if you don't live there, are familiar with the Grand Drive one because it was recent. But RJ, did you
I was just going to ask Paul, in looking at this, just looking at the whole scope of things, what effect, for, against, or none, this has on the businesses that are immediately on East State Street?
I don't have a good answer on that. The The first thing I'll say is, and as most people are well aware, I'm always extremely thrilled when anybody is saying we should implement any portion of our comprehensive plan. So that always makes me really happy to see that there's other people who are for, respect the planning process and want things to be implemented. So I'm really happy about that part of it. It's most of the impact on the East State. It would be tough to say what it is. I guess you could see a potential negative impact if everything were to be converted to duplexes. That could potentially add a lot more vehicular traffic during afternoon and morning rush hours, which could create more conflicts, especially as well on the weekends. That's tough to say, though. And that would also be down the road, far down the road, I think, for that much real estate to be converted from a single family to duplex. There are also other concepts that are in line with these on Exhibit A, lines number 6 and 7, relating to owner-occupied enclaves and neighborhood conservation areas. There's other things we could look at for neighborhoods where owner-occupied houses and the neighbors are concerned about seeing conversions from rentals to owner-occupied rentals. There are options and precedents in a few other cities that we could look at to create essentially owner-occupied overlay zones, where if the neighbors wanted to vote themselves to create this zone, they could do that, but then everybody in that zone would be restricted from being able to rent their homes. So that East Lansing, Michigan has created that, and it has been legally defended because it's always done by a neighborhood petition. So there are options like that that could also be explored. All in all, though, I think it's a pretty good first step. From what's been submitted, I would have concerns. I guess it would be useful to hear there's not too many rentals in that neighborhood. According to this, well, it's 30% rental. I'm sure there are several rental property owners who may be concerned about this change. Not that should stop anybody from changing the zoning. I would be concerned if there's any of the B3s that are being changed. I think the property owners in those B3s would make an argument that that's a significant reduction in their property value. So that would be something we'd have to be really careful about. But I'm sure we've done down zonings with B3s and ours in the past. So.
And one thing, we have no sidewalks, so the children have to walk in the street when they're going to the community center, and cars parked on the street makes it even worse.
Right. There's only a few crossings, actually, from the north side of East State. So if you wanted to walk across, like to get to the community center, there's only a few intersections that even have sidewalks on the south side there to cross.
Charles is the main crossing.
Correct,
so since there's a light at Charles, it's a fairly busy street.
And again, you just got this packet. We've been looking at it. Exhibit D has portions of the comprehensive plan area that expresses the lack of sidewalks in this area, the preservation of the area. Again, I think historically, I know that at one point the Planning Commission, again, before my time on council or as mayor, was discussing trying to eliminate the B1 zones. They never got that far. Harry could probably remember that, I'm sure. Mostly because there's a smattering of B1s, and the concept there is that the corner business would not work anymore. The example, of course, that's changed of the B1 zone, for instance, on East State Street where the Village Bakery is. That's considered actually an asset now, whereas 10, 15 years ago it was considered a potential blight.
Right. People's attitudes have changed.
But again, there was quite a bit of pushback from anybody who had a B1 at the time, because that was seen as a taking, a loss of value of the property.
Right.
So just be aware, B3 is probably even, the intensity of the pushback would probably be even stronger. The recommendation, again, looking at this, the best thing to do is to go through the packet, look at the arguments for it, and then we have to look at the legalities of what we can do or can't do in terms of the recommendations. I'm a little thrown off by the sliver that is R2.
Yeah.
It looks highly condensed, and not much of a buffer. But, again, this is something I have to look at closely. I looked at, the maps, I have to thank Paul for putting the maps together in nice color coding so we can figure out what's going on.
Yeah.
But, it's a substantive change.
Yeah.
But again, the next thing would actually be doing a polling of that R2 and see, if the majority of it feel that way. I suspect many of them would. If I look at the trend of what goes on with cities, of course, and I'm thinking that, I used to play Monopoly as well, that as you build up, it goes from one house, two house, three house, and a hotel. So as we widen East State Street, the trend would be to actually increase the intensity of commercial development there.
Well, that's my own biggest issue with this is there's so few crossing streets. We have a very limited grid in Athens, and all this will do is just further confine any commercial activity to East State Street. Whereas I actually kind of see this as being, where you can actually extend and make a viable sort of neighborhood center in this area where you have your mixes of, commercial, your corner, the thing of the 1930s and 40s, thing again, where you have businesses mixed in with residential apartments, that sort of thing, and we could kind of do it densely and use this as a buffer. So I think there definitely is opportunity. I would not want to see, at face value, without reviewing this document fully, I don't like the concept of bringing R1 that totally to this area.
Well, again, I can see us crunching down it just because if I'm reading the packet, which I did before in terms of zoning, and I read this comprehensive plan a while back, one of the issues, of course, is the lack of sidewalks and the actual, there's a high pedestrian traffic area in that area. People are walking their dogs all the time, and we just added more stop signs to eliminate the cut-throughs in the past 2 years, just because there was a lot of zooming around or parallel traffic going through. So they say they're going to intensify. It's an iffy situation there. I suspect once we have this discussion, there may be a rush to the door to get permits, and that's my biggest worry about that.
Yeah.
We've had that before when we do some changes in terms of
R2s. With the new lot coverage laws and the parking requirements, the size of these lots, what anyone can really do with those in those zones anyways.
Okay.
Even though they are zoned R2, short of being a 2 and a 1 or something, or a 2 and a 2, they're very limited as to what they'd be able to do.
So is there value from that standpoint to
There's
rezone?
value in that standpoint that I don't think will have a major impact on the zone, even changing it to R1. That justifies going it more, but with the current, the new lot coverage rules, it just limits what anyone can really do there anyways. I do agree that some of the B3 to R2, there's some of them here that are proposed, and I understand it's just concept. We have had contact to us about potential growth in some of those lots. For example, the Napa building's been for sale for quite some time now, and the same property owner owns the 3 parcels behind it, or 4, that's being proposed to be changed to R2, and I think he would be one that would really to be against this proposal, but as Mr. Dill said, this is very preliminary, so.
And again, with lot coverage that you speak of, there would nothing, there are end runs around that, combining lots to cover the good coverage, a planned unit development, which of course.
But that could be done in an R1.
Yes, and of course, it would have to come to our purview, and we'd have indications saying this is in transition, we may not want to think that's, again, it's plan commission, if we see a change going towards an R1, would it behoove us to actually start throwing PUDs in the section? It would be almost contradictory. And again, I think it requires some study for sure, just because I don't know, I know some of this here, but I don't know the impact of what would happen here. I'm looking at, what are we looking at here? Grand Park 11A and B is obviously an R2, and that's going to change over. So I know the idea is to minimize the nonconformity, but there will be some impacts, and there will probably be some pushback on it. I would say review the comprehensive plan.
Right. We only had 2 lights to get out in that whole section now. And either you go clear down to Eden, is it, or Charles. And that makes it hard that way too. And more people's gonna make it worse.
Yes. The difficulty, of course, is there are not a lot of actually intersections that line up easily with the south side of East State.
Yeah.
They're all,
Who planned that south side of East State?
what? I have no, there was an airport. They just had to taxi planes across, I guess. And then everybody would watch out for that.
All right.
Yeah, it used to be, one time I was coming with my mother, coming into town, and an airplane was coming up East State Street because there was a hangar over there, and I almost had a heart attack.
Well, they don't do that anymore.
Thank goodness for the community center.
You still get the deliveries coming down the street, it's sort of the same thing. All right, I make a motion that we table this upon further review, and either a commission member or someone can suggest that we bring it back up to under discussion, probably under communications, whenever you feel like you've digested it enough to discuss it more fully.
I'll second that motion.
All right, all those in favor of tabling?
Aye.
Okay. Any opposition?
Could
Go
I
ahead.
request to be notified the next time it's on the agenda?
I don't know if we have a notification system for
Yeah, well,
agendas, do we?
We do put out an agenda.
I
You can
just gotta
actually-
keep checking.
No, you can actually sign up, go to our city website, and you
Okay.
can actually list, get out, subscribe to any of the agendas,
Okay.
boil orders, and.
All right, thank you.
Okay. It's in an e-gov section, I forget the actual
I'll find it.
location, so we could probably get one of our IT experts here to tell us exactly, but you'll find it. If not, just
I'll
call
find
us.
it.
Should we
Agendas are also-
table this
For planning commission specifically,
telecommunications?
the agenda is typically published on the front page of the city website the Friday before the meeting.
Okay,
They meet the first and third Wednesday of every month.
okay, thank you.
All right, and due to duration, I will suggest that we also table the telecommunication tower ordinance until the next meeting, if you don't.
Can I speak on it really quickly?
Yeah, how about you can?
I'll keep it down to about a minute. The copy I included in your packets, to me, I believe that's the best available option for it. I've been working on it for about the last 2 weeks, to try to fine tune it for everybody. I will not be at the next planning commission meeting, but for that meeting, I do intend to have a bullet by bullet points as to why I believe this is the best direction for us to take. I just apologize, I ran out of time this morning to get that completed. But that's fine. I have no problem with the table for the remainder of the day.
So you'll be adding annotations to it as.
Okay.
I will, yeah, I'll have a cover sheet and the executive summary. of
Yeah,
everything in there.
I went through this again. This was like, I thought the last,
Mhm.
and there was just some points that, I was gonna bring up at the next meeting, just in terms of, again, I'm just hung up on the amateur radio or nonprofit as far as,
Mhm.
I would like to see in there at
Okay.
least, let's see,
Probably
be-
3 or 4.
This was the
Yeah,
old
that's,
version. So
Oh,
what
the
was
old
the
version.
section?
yeah, I'm just going by this old version, I'm sorry.
You might not fall under.
Section 7, though, in the old one, where it
What was
says,
the chapter title?
page 5, section 7, exclusions, the following shall be exempt from the ordinance.
This would be page 6 on the new version.
Okay,
Okay.
I'm sorry. Where it just, D, facilities exclusively for private, non-commercial radio and television reception, private citizens band, licensed amateur radio, and other similar non-commercial telecommunication. I would still like to see a cap in terms of height put on that, because again, and also some regulation in terms of setback from
Adjacent properties.
adjacent
Yeah.
property, at least that, and then, let's see, I think you,
When you're saying that, RJ, are you specifically talking about like the ham radio?
ham radio.
You're not talking about the other part of that, I think, if you go into the step above that in C, where it talks about direct broadcast satellites, wireless cable, you are not talking
No.
about the 1 meter or
No.
smaller satellite dish.
No, I'm just talking about the ham radio. Again, just from my experience in Florida, where there were a lot of ham radio operators, those towers could be, 40 or 50 feet tall. And it would be like in a neighborhood where the thing could fall over and basically fall on somebody's house at that point. So, yeah, I'd like to see something like that.
Would you, I mean, what if we just cap it per the story height per that zone?
For the R1 zone, you mean, R2 zone?
Not a bad idea, that way it wouldn't be taller than the house.
Because usually they are secured to the house or maybe secured to your chimney.
Yeah.
But most of them are usually higher than
Right.
the house.
So-
Reception, yeah.
I'm completely.
Yeah, there might
out
be a
of the loop
standard
with
of how
which
high you need to
issues with
get.
ham radios. I'll try to dig up as much research as possible for the next meeting. though.
I mean, if there's
Yeah.
such a thing as a standard height that most ham operators or amateur operators use,
What's the minimum operational height?
right? Something of that nature. I think that was just one of my big
Well,
concerns.
setbacks is good too, to consider it an accessory structure, which is only 5 foot.
Yeah.
A little bit. Again, when we were discussing Roosevelt Tower 3 years ago, they wanted a fall zone
Fall zone,
equal to the
right.
height of the
Right.
tower,
If you'll never get an R1.
And that we have that's built into
the regular
Yeah.
ones.
right, but
Yeah.
not for the amateur rating.
And then also, again, I'm working off the old, I apologize, section 11, which is on page 11 on the old one. Just in general, height of telecommunications towers, do we want to cap, at least within the city or the 3 mile, as far as a cap of height on,
3 mile we cannot cover.
okay, within the city though? Something of that
We
nature?
certainly can. I believe. I'm not 100% sure.
Which would probably be protected anyway by the setbacks and the heights as far as being away from,
What is in there, I think the part that I liked about it is that it requires, this new ordinance is essentially, it's very similar to that ordinance. In that exact same section, the 10 feet lower, it requires that you verify both, and if you can show that it works at 10 feet lower, then it should be 10 feet lower, and then you're supposed to keep, we can make it so that you have to keep going down. Well, if you're saying you need 150, but it works at 140, then let's see if it works at 130. So we
Right.
can look at it from that perspective too.
and then just back on section 8, as far as special use permit application and other requirements, the city may, at its discretion, delegate or designate other official agencies or officials of the city to accept, review, analyze, evaluate, etc., as far as recommendations to present to city council. Would outside engineering firms be covered under
Yes.
official?
Yes.
Okay, so that's fine, all right.
Yep.
They would just be designated as your,
Correct. Yeah.
okay.
All right, well, I'll suggest that you just submit the bullet points so we can have it available at the next meeting, but we'll table discussion to the following one,
Sure.
so that way we can review it and you can answer questions we may have.
We've been working on it for a while. I don't think there's a huge rush. I think we've got we're on the right track to having a really tight, well-crafted ordinance at this point. though.
Right.
And then I understood Paula, I guess, well, several months ago when we talked about this, where she was saying that there really wasn't a trend towards co-location as much as establishing their own
Right.
towers, right?
Well,
Yeah.
the one down on the ridges just got co-located, and I think I got a second co-location coming
It
on,
depends
so.
on the situation and also depends on your local ordinance.
Okay.
If there's no requirement for co-location, they'd like to actually build as many as possible or get their own built. And one of the reasons why is if there's an assumption that if you've got too many towers, then cities start putting ordinances in. And one of the things they put into the ordinance is a requirement for co-location. So if they have their own, then you change the laws and now
Right.
you're basically creating a revenue stream for the tower.
They'll have a rental sign, right?
Yeah.
I did have one more, I'm sorry. Section 9, location of wireless telecommunications, and it's being asked to, I guess, grade from highest priority to lowest priority.
Page 11.
Do we want to have a number 7, as far as do we want to permit towers in residential zones?
It's, did you not receive this?
No.
I apologize.
That's
It's in
okay.
your packet. any issues with your packet or my.
Not ahead of time.
My
Okay.
error.
Yeah, not ahead of time.
Char was not in today. On the new update of that, those orders were changed around to reflect our zoning specifically.
Okay.
Number 7 being the last, and it says a new tower on properties in areas zoned for residential use, going in descending order from R3 to R2 to R1 being the
Okay.
very last option. My instincts tell me that you're going to find other options at that time.
We don't
One
want
thing
to.
that we also could look at and consider is, I think the language there says tower.
Right.
But you could also, but if you just look at it from a facility standpoint, R1s may be, if we change that from tower to facility, and R1 may actually be reasonable. There are a lot of examples of using these stealth technologies where your tower could be a stop sign.
Mm-hmm.
So your tower can be a street light, it can be the, so we may not want to necessarily say no R1s, but maybe we want to change that term from tower to facility.
Okay.
To reflect that. So with stealth technology, you might be able to put them everywhere and never even
All
notice.
right. Okay. Thanks.
Yeah.
All right, any further questions? All right,
Thanks for doing it.
table, it does look, can't wait to read it. Okay, move on to reports from the city planner and director of development and code enforcement.
I'll
Paul,
go
do you have
first.
anything?
Since it's been a long meeting, I don't have anything to add. I won't be at the next meeting.
You'll be missed.
Thank you.
Just wanted to let you know that the BZA meeting last week, utility station for Verizon on Schaefer Street was approved. That was a conditional use permit. And the 762 West Union residential on the first floor in B3 for the catwalk we're building out there was approved as well. And the only other thing I'd like to mention, we don't have it solidified yet, but shooting to move the BZA meeting scheduled for October 11th to Wednesday, October 12th, because Columbus Day is on that Monday and council's pushed back to the Tuesday. So for availability of the room, which we may have a crowd, I don't want to try to do this at the same time city council's going on.
Just don't have enough cameras, I think.
Yeah, we're working that out right now with the other members that are pushing it back a week, but one way or another, I'll let you, we'll actually have that answer before the next BZA for planning commission meeting, I'll let you know.
Okay.
So we're working on that. That is it.
All right. Opportunities for citizens to speak about items not covered on the agenda. Well, they're keeping focused on agenda items, I guess that's good. Announcements and other business. Our next meeting is October the 5th, Wednesday at noon, and by then we'll be back in our normal quarters.
I hope so.
Okay.
Yes, they should be done by then.
Okay. Any other announcements? All right, if there's no more items to discuss, our meeting is now adjourned. Thank you for all attending.
Thank you.